How's it going, John?
Hey, Eric. It is going well tonight. How are you?
I'm so far doing well.
So far, doing well. Okay, that's a good thing.
We went to a wedding over the weekend. 3 days,
Uh,
tons of family, lots of um, mask-free,
Mask adjacent.
mask-adjacent, mask-free interactions. Right at the time Omicron is spiking wildly,
Uh-huh.
but so far so good. So either I've got it and I just am one of the lucky few that really don't have symptoms, or I avoided it so far. Same
Because
same with the rest of the family.
it's been 3 days.
Yes. So we flew down Friday, flew home Sunday, late Sunday night.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's now Wednesday.
Have you did you take a test
I
on
have
yesterday or today?
Nope. I haven't taken a test. I figured I would see if I felt or if anybody in the family uh, felt sick. So far, everybody feels good. So we'll give it another couple days and see what happens. But
I think I'll give you a few more days before I go to lunch with you.
yeah,
We'll give you a give you a nice little quarantine
yeah,
uh, bit. Um, okay, yeah, because I actually, ironically, my wife's not been feeling well, and so you've got the sniffles or the cough, and like, do I have COVID? So she's actually taken two tests in the last week, both of which
hmm
have come up negative, but
mm,
not each test pack comes with two, so not four, just
right,
one, and then after another week of it, it was like these symptoms are just seem very uh,
yeah,
lingering, and so, but no, still negative, which is good, and um, actually this past Sunday, one of my errands, I guess, was my younger boy, who's 14. They've enabled boosters or allowed boosters now for 12 to 16-year-olds,
mm,
and so we went down and got him his third shot.
yeah. That's on the to-do list for my boy still.
Talking to the nurse who gave it to him,
hmm
she's evidently a traveling nurse. She was like, "Oh,
Right.
I'm from Georgia." She was just kind of chatting. No, sorry. Yeah, sorry. She said, "I'm from um, not Georgia, Houston. Sorry, that's
Okay.
nowhere near Georgia. Well, anyway, nearer than Oregon, but so I was like, "Whoa," meaning that you moved here from Houston, or you like are a traveling nurse? And she's like, "I'm a traveling nurse." I'm like, "Oh, okay, well that's cool. Thanks for coming up here and running the clinic, and she said that Sunday was their quote day off, meaning that they only worked for like 6 hours. And so, but other than that, it's 7 days a week. So Sunday, when she got off at 2 or 3, was the
Right.
day that she had to go get groceries and do her laundry, and
Mm.
but that it's been um, 7 days a week. And she's like, they said at first it would be 2 weeks, and then it was 2 months, and now it's just until this COVID thing is over. I'm like,
Hmm.
thank you for your service.
Yeah.
But anyway, she was super nice, but it was eye opening again. But anyway, that was one of the things that happened this weekend.
Yeah.
Um, well, I'm glad that you made it down and back seemingly safe. I hope that the family stays healthy and no repercussions are had.
Yeah, no, it was a great time. It was fun to see family that some of which I hadn't seen for several years. The 2 years since COVID started, we haven't really traveled, so it was really nice to get to see family and hang out a little bit. The and here's the nerd part of me. The most exciting thing Well, I shouldn't say it that way because my niece got married. Yay for her. But the tech thing that was exciting to me was this was the first time I actually checked into the hotel on my phone, got digital keys delivered to my phone, walked straight up to my room, used my phone to unlock the door, and checked out. I didn't talk to any hotel staff ever. I walked into a building, went into a room, hung the, do not disturb sign on the door for the 2 days because, plenty of towels. We didn't need extra towels. And then took it off and left without interacting with any other humans.
I like it.
It was nice.
I like it. That's cool. That's cool.
There is the future.
May I ask, was it a Marriott or a Hilton?
It was a Hampton Inn.
Hampton Inn. Okay.
Yeah. So the Hilton brand, the Hampton Inn, and it was in the Hilton app. It gave me this hotel is equipped with digital keys. Would you like to use digital keys? Why, yes, I would. So the fun part was we had 2 rooms.
Okay.
And so I got the digital key on my phone for 2 rooms. But then, of course, well, how do I give the key to daughter number 2 so she can open her room? And you can share your key with up to 4 people, but they have to have a Hilton account and a Hilton app on their phone too. So she had to create herself an account and download the app and create an account, and then I could share it with her. And then so she used it as well. My boy said, "I'll just go in with sister." So he didn't want to waste the time doing that. And yeah, but it worked out very nice. I liked the ability to not talk to any other humans if I did not wish to.
There you go. It's the future. Just a building with a bunch of pods in it.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, I guess I've stayed in a hotel twice since the pandemic. But both times I had to actually talk to people to check in. But both times, and they were both I think 1 or 2 nights. So, I mean, it wasn't major, but, they were not doing the normal cleaning. You could request a room clean,
right?
By calling down or hanging a sign or something out. But other than that, it was, no, we'll clean your room when you check out.
Yep. Yeah.
Well, that's cool though. That's cool.
It was nice. How about you? Anything exciting this weekend?
I did have one sort of stymied quest this weekend.
Stymied quest.
Sort of, yeah. I have bee related, fun. So fun thing. But I wanted to do a mite treatment. There's a mite treatment that is popular to do in winter, which is vaporizing oxalic acid in the bees. So the oxalic acid is it's a natural acid, and it doesn't harm bees much, but it does kill mites. But it only kills what are called phoretic mites, which means basically the mites that are out and on the bees. It does not penetrate into any closed cells, which is where the mites go in with the larva and the pupa and breed. So you want to do it at a time when there's not much brood in the colony,
right?
AKA winter.
Which
it is now. And so I bought myself kind of around Christmas time or pre-Christmas time, a oxalic acid vaporizer, and with the intention of doing this. And so I had this weekend, the weather was great, and I had decided, okay, this is what I need to do. But my quest was, the one thing I hadn't prepped for, but I knew I had to do, was I had to have a mask with a respirator. So vaporizing organic acids is not awesome for lungs. And so, all the books, even most of the YouTubers are very clear. You must have a respirator if you're going to do this. And so
Right.
a Saturday morning, I was like, okay, let me get the, what am I going to do? I needed to do a little bit more reading and decide what's the, filters that I needed. So, okay. And it wasn't like, it was like 4 Googles away. I found the thing, I got the recommendation, and then I looked on the Lowe's app, for the masks that kind of were recommended, and I looked on Amazon, and one on Amazon said same day delivery. And then I had a user error in ordering off of Amazon, which I should have realized. I realized this later, but when I ordered the mask, right down below the picture, it says people that ordered this also bought, and it had the right filters that I wanted, as well as something else. And so I unchecked the third thing that I didn't want, and then I clicked the Buy It Now button on the right-hand side, which does not actually buy both things that you have checked. It only buys the one thing that is on the page. And so it came at 10 o'clock Saturday night, and I'm like, well, where's my filters? I thought that I got them both. And then I look through the orders, and I'm realizing, user error. So no big deal. Mm-hmm. The next, Sunday morning, when my boy and I went out and got the shot, we stopped at Lowe's. I forced him to stop at Lowe's on the way back, and I picked up the filters and came home. No big deal. And then I went out Sunday afternoon to apply said treatment, and realized that I needed a battery, like a 12-volt car battery, which I have, but it was dead. And so I put the charger on it, and after like 2.5 hours, it was still at like 3% charge. So it is, it is still, I spent an hour and a half in the shop this evening, and I didn't even look at what the battery was at. The battery's charger is still sitting out there. So I did clean up. I have 3 officially dead colonies out of my 8. So I'm now, 37.5% dead. So I cleaned them up and brought all those, boxes and lids and, bases and everything else back in. So the quote apiary is looking a little bare now, barer than it did before. And that was kind of fun, just because it was, you were evidently in Arizona, but it was beautiful up here in Portland this past weekend.
It wasn't too shabby in Arizona either.
That's probably true.
70 degrees ain't bad.
No, that's pretty nice. That's pretty nice. So anyway, so that was my fun quest that I did not manage to succeed in this past weekend. But sorry, one other funny thing that happened this afternoon though. Like I was on a work call, and I heard the loudest noise. It sounded like an airplane was crashing overhead or something like that, or flying super low overhead. So loud. So I go out back. I'm just, I'm sitting right, 10 steps away from a sliding glass door out the back of our house. And it turns out, we have a flooded field behind us, like flooded.
Right.
The fence posts are now starting to peek back out above the water, and they're like 5 feet. So like at the deepest, it's probably 5 feet deep. But it varies, and there's lots of fence lines in there. Somebody was out there with an airboat. I think it was an airboat. Those boats with a big old
the fans on the back.
Fan on the back.
Yeah.
So it doesn't pull much draft. Somebody was out there like boating around on the fields. Not technically my field. They were out farther than that. But I was like, what in the heck do you think you're doing? And there's lots of fence lines out there. Do you know where they are? I mean, it has to be somebody who knows. Except that I'm not sure because the whole point is that, I don't know, half a mile away from my back deck looking out is the actual river, and it's flooded. I mean, it's totally flooded. If you drive over one of the roads, you can see that, the river is just now a huge lake as it is struggling to drain, all this water. And so, like, did they put in at one of the boat launches and like come up the river, and then they're just like thinking they're having fun on a lake, or I don't know, but I was shocked. It was the first time I'd seen anything like that in the 5 years we've lived here. But I thought that was pretty crazy because Oregon's gotten a lot of rain in the last 2 weeks. Like,
yeah,
a lot of rain. So this is the month of the year where I evidently have lakefront property. So anyway,
Nice.
that was just so crazy. I was on the phone and I'm like, hold on a second. I kind of have to walk out back. And the guy was on. He's like, I can hear that. That's loud. I'm like, oh, okay. So the noise canceling isn't just pulling that out. But anyway, it was pretty crazy.
Nice.
All right.
Well, you ready for me to complain about JavaScript again?
It's been a while. Yeah. What about JavaScript?
So, well, remember, what was it, 2 years ago now, 3 years ago now? Somebody removed a library from NPM that they owned, just kind of got rid of it and it broke the internet.
Oh, the left pad. The
Yeah,
left pad incident.
Left pad. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, now something has occurred again, slightly different here. There's a couple open source libraries called Colors and Faker, developed by a person who got upset that they were being used, that they were contributing open source software for big companies who were not paying and supporting open source software. So in retaliation, rather than just remove the packages, they sabotaged, I guess is the easiest way to put it. They made the packages do things that they weren't supposed to. Unexpected things, which then, of course, still also broke anyone who auto-updated, grabbed those packages and used them. And so, it started printing out gibberish and got into an infinite loop, created an infinite loop, and basically bricked thousands of projects that used these two NPM libraries. And mostly it was just kind of a complaint about, hey, I got 20 million downloads. No one's paying me for this. Why should I continue to contribute open source? Why don't you big companies support open source? Good. We should support open source. But mixed opinions as to this being a stick it to the man or now you're just going to convince people not to update at all because no one's going to update if all of a sudden all open source software is now breaking things, or we have more and more open source software breaking things. And they got suspended by GitHub, their GitHub account, and a number of other things. So just another point here about open source software. If you're dependent on open source software, you're dependent on somebody else and the whims of somebody else. Just another reminder that there's, especially the smaller open source projects, you may be subject to an upset developer or someone rage quitting the internet at some point.
It's an external dependency.
Yep.
And an implicit one that most people who aren't the devs on the project, and then maybe even a good percentage of the actual devs who are just trying to like maybe get something done as fast as they can and not really thinking about, sort of long-term implications would think about.
Mm-hmm.
So, it still gives me heart palpitations thinking of people who just blithely pull packages from open repositories in every build and then push it live.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there you go. That's the one that caught my eye this week.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I actually saw a bunch of stuff on Twitter about that, but I didn't care enough about it, like to go digging into some of the allegations that were clearly going on in there. In the sense of it, it didn't impact my day to day at the moment, and it's already a violation of my principles. So,
Right.
Oh, that is what it is. Okay. So I had two things tonight. So the first one is another warning by the FBI that one of the ransomware groups, Fin7, has been mailing USB devices to U.S. companies over the past few months that, if you plug them into a laptop, will potentially at least infect the laptop and then let them try and move laterally. So this is not the first time that's been done. In fact, a USB drive's what was believed to have carried in the Stuxnet vulnerability, right, into the uranium enrichment years ago. But these are disguised, at least this article, the record article we'll put in here, these are disguised as either a Health and Human Services letter referencing COVID-19 guidelines enclosed that need to be followed, or Amazon gift card, in a decorative box, and thank you letter
right.
card, and the USB, and then the USB device. It says in both cases the packages contain LilyGo branded USB devices, but that if you plug them in, they'll try and execute a bad USB attack. USB registers itself as a keyboard instead of a storage device, and then sends a series of pre-configured, automated keystrokes to the PC. And then that will try and do, run PowerShell commands, download malicious software, and then, depending on what they're able to do and what they get through, it says that the quote is, "In cases investigated by the FBI, the agency said it has seen the group obtain administrative access and then move laterally to other local systems. The Fin7 actors used a variety of tools, including Metasploit, Cobalt Strike, PowerShell scripts, Carbonac, Griffin, DiceLoader, Tyrion, and deployed ransomware, including Black Matter and REvil, on the compromised network." So, if somebody sends you a USB drive in the mail, don't plug it into a computer.
No, maybe don't.
Yeah. Maybe don't. So that was my first one, and then the second one, I only read tonight. JR put this in the chat earlier, but this is an Eclipsium article, and I tend to follow Eclipsium pretty closely, but I guess I have been kind of in a black box for the last couple of days. But because Eclipsium was started by a couple of ex-Intel, ex-McAfee people, a few years ago, and we know a bunch of the folks there. But this is what's it called? It's iLOBleed, the iLOBleed implant. So this is a HP.
Does it have a logo?
Well, there was a pretty picture at the top of this, but I didn't actually see I wouldn't call it a logo. This was, they were, what was it? I'm not looking at it at the moment, but it was like a shattering light bulb kind of thing.
Right.
For integrated lights out. The point being that this lights out technology provides out of band management. So one of the things that is really important for quote enterprise computers, data centers, is the ability to manage them. So, and in this case, it tends to be even, if the computers are powered off and the IT system or the IT administrators want to patch something, they want to be able to power up the machine, deploy a patch, power it back down.
Right.
That kind of thing. And so, this iLO technology provides out-of-band management facilities. So these are also some called BMC, or it stands for baseband management controller. But basically, it's a chip that's installed in PCs, or a capability that's installed where it's like a OS on the motherboard itself, not actually running on the CPU, the main
Right.
CPU. And so, and it can access the Ethernet card and maybe sometimes the wireless card, etc., so that, a wake on Ethernet packet can wake up the baseband management, and that's how they do that. Even though the machines are quote turned off, they're still plugged in, and even the power off doesn't actually turn off, everything in the computer. Anyway, so the whole point here is that this Iranian security firm disclosed, I'm reading a quote here, disclosed how threat actors are actively using BMC implants against HPE servers in the wild. Known as iLOBleed, the implant affects HPE Gen 8 and Gen 9 servers using iLO 4 and potentially earlier models that do not provide a hardware root of trust. Even newer Gen 10 and iLO 5 systems that implement a hardware root of trust can be affected if they're vulnerable to firmware downgrades. So, that says two major things there. Obviously, the version that, that and below are vulnerable, but also, a downgrade attack is an important thing to be able to protect against if, if somebody's able to, the newest version of software is, protects against that. Oh, but can you force it to talk a earlier protocol or deploy an earlier firmware? Because if so, well, that may
just do that first.
Do that first, exactly. So the problem that this is, and the reason why, our friends at Eclipsium are building their company in the first place, is for firmware. Firmware malicious software is, by definition, I guess, in most cases, like not visible in the OS above the, that most users are running, right? It's underneath it. There's ways that you can try and detect that. There's ways, obviously, that you can look and see what version of firmware is deployed. There's a comment in here about, how to tell whether, the particular server may have this installed on it. And it's one of the ways is because it will fake accept a firmware upgrade and claim to be upgraded, even display the upgraded version, but not actually have changed its underlying version internally. So anyway, there was it's faking it out. So it says that this has been observed in the wild since 2020 and has proven to be stealthy, persistent, and damaging. And the reason is because if you are on this OS below the CPU OS, you are in control of the hardware. And so, it says this was used to completely wipe victim servers' disks. But then when the disks were restored, restoring the OS, recovering the data doesn't actually change the firmware running on the BMC. They just did it again.
Nope.
Yeah, it's a persistent low-level infection. And so, and that's what it says. Additionally, the implant took the added steps of silently preventing the system from updating the BMC firmware while spoofing results to make it appear that the firmware had been updated. So, the final thing I pulled out of here, there's other stuff in this. It's a longer article, but there's a comment that, server BMCs should not be directly exposed to the internet, which is a very much a yes, correct item, but that doesn't mean that that's the case. And that they've done some analysis with Showdown on how many systems are responding with the iLOBleed BMCs, which they identified almost 7,800. It didn't. If they said when they did this, I'm not sure. But the article only came out today. And then the final thing in here is that it said of these devices, 44, so not a huge percentage, but still not tiny, showed obvious signs of ransomware infection based on data displayed on their publicly accessible login screen. And so if you go to the article and you look at the login screen, that's shown down in the article here, it literally says security notice, hey, your hard disk is encrypted using RSA 2048 asymmetric encryption. To decrypt files, you need to contact us. Here's the Bitcoin wallet, et cetera, et cetera. So
you missed the best line in there, though. Not even God can help you. It's all math and cryptography.
Oh, that's awesome. I thought you might mean the line, negotiations almost impossible unless you are a Russian citizen.
That one too. But yeah. It's all math and cryptography.
Yeah.
It's all math would have been in shorter sentence and it still rings true. Correct.
All right,
Anyways,
so that was my article. So thanks to JR for posting that because I had missed that, and that's a good one.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good one. All right, how about something fun tonight? Would you bring me?
I swear I have seen this before, a couple of years ago, or at least something very similar. But what if I told you that how you can teach a mouse to walk through a maze to get a treat, and you do all sorts of Pavlov's dog, right? You get all sorts of experiments with animals, or you teach animals to do new tricks.
Yes.
What if I told you that some researchers have taught a goldfish how to drive?
I'm not sure I would have believed you if I hadn't watched the video right before this, because I saw you post this in the notes and I was like, what?
Yes. So some researchers in Israel have taught a goldfish how to drive. And you do have to watch the video. Basically, there's a fish tank, and the fish is in the fish tank, and where the fish swims in the tank, the vehicle will move that direction. And so they trained the fish, or the FOV, the fish operated vehicle,
FOV.
right? They trained the FOV that, it would change its direction based on the fish's movement in the water of the tank mounted on the platform. And as the fish drove where they wanted, then a treat was provided to the fish, right? So the fish learned, if I drive towards and hit this block, I will get food, right?
Uh-huh.
So fabulous, fabulous, fun article. Even a fish can learn how to drive. I need to tell teenagers that. Teenagers these days don't drive. So there you go.
That's true. My experience is so far true. That I would not have thought that was possible. I don't know. It's so cool.
There you go.
And a goldfish.
A goldfish. So there you go. That's driving goldfish. That's my something fun for tonight.
Okay. All right. Well, so clearly goldfish must have more of a memory than 10 seconds if they can be trained the target that they're going to hit. Because it does say that after, what did it say, a couple of days of training?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that is totally cool. Yeah, the scientists said that after a few days of training, the fish were able to navigate past obstacles such as walls while eluding efforts to trick them with false targets.
Mm-hmm.
See, goldfish are smart. Who knew?
I
did not.
Yeah.
All right. Well, in the spirit of there's too many good fun things in the world, I have two fun things.
Okay.
Because I didn't want to not do either of these. But the first one is that there was another public domain day.
Every January 1st?
12 days ago. So works from 1926 are open to all. And it says, as is a cornucopia of recorded music, an estimated 400,000 sound recordings from before 1923. So the link we'll put in here is to a page on the Duke website. But it has a list of some of the more popular items that were, in this year of copyright. But it has a ton of others, and then also, a bit more data about just copyright in general, and really what an atrocity it is that the copyright has been extended so many times. But a couple of the books, at least, that are now in the public domain include the first Winnie the Pooh book.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
An Ernest Hemingway, The Sun Also Rises. The first William Faulkner book, Soldier's Pay, an Agatha Christie novel, the film that became The Lawrence of Arabia, which was by T.E. Lawrence, The Seven Pillars of Wisdom, and many, many, many others. So that's my first thing. And I have not there's a bunch of movies in there too.
Right.
Tons of movies. So I didn't pull those out, but I'm pretty sure there were things by Buster Keaton and Greta Garbo and others. So check that out. That's the first something fun. The second something fun is more physics science, which is, the title is Radio Telescope Reveals How Lightning Begins. And so this is another one of those articles in Quanta magazine. And I don't know where I saw this. I think I might have got this on Apple News or something like that. But there's now been several articles from Quanta magazine ever since, I think it was one that JR put in the Slack a while back, but I really enjoyed their sort of the depth of their descriptions. But anyway, this is says that researchers used low frequency array, LOFAR, network of thousands of small radio telescopes, mostly in the Netherlands, normally used for gazing at distant galaxies and exploding stars, but according to Dwyer, quote, it just so happens to work really well for measuring lightning too. So he says, it says that researchers are trying to use the observations to settle a long-standing debate about what triggers lightning, the first step in the mysterious process by which bolts arise, grow, and propagate to the ground. It's kind of embarrassing. It's the most energetic process on the planet. We have religions centered around this thing, and we have no idea how it works. Thought that was funny. But anyway, so what to pull out of here? So it evidently, let's see. It says this was from an August 2018 lightning flash, and so here's a quote. It says, when the researchers analyzed the data from the August 2018 lightning flash, they saw the radio pulses all emanated from a 70-meter wide region deep inside the storm cloud. They quickly inferred that the pattern of pulses supports one of the two leading theories about how the most common types of lightning get started. One idea holds that cosmic rays, particles from outer space, collide with electrons inside thunderstorms, triggering electron avalanches. The new observations, though, point to the rival theory. It starts with clusters of ice crystals inside the cloud. Turbulent collisions between the needle-shaped crystals brush off some of their electrons, leaving one end of each ice crystal positively charged and the other negatively charged. The positive end draws electrons from nearby air particles. More electrons flow in from air molecules that are farther away, forming ribbons of ionized air that extend from each crystal tip, called streamers. And then those give rise to hordes of streamers, and that's kind of, it sounds like where the avalanche kind of begins. This, right. And there's a video at the top of the page that shows this kind of happening, but the streamers heat the surrounding air, ripping electrons from air molecules in mass, so that larger current flows onto the ice crystals, and then eventually it becomes hot and conductive enough to turn into what they call a leader, a channel along which a fully fledged streak of lightning can travel. And so that's totally awesome. And there's a video that kind of shows what this is like. It doesn't truly show, like, with enough granularity down to like what causes that initial first electron loss that eventually results in the avalanche, and it doesn't really talk to the sort of post streamer, into the leader set, but it, for that kind of just after the Big Bang inflation, cosmic inflation period, it has a good demonstration. Okay, that's awesome. That was the main point of the article. But there was one other kind of point that the article said that I thought was awesome too. It says, the key role of ice crystals dovetails with recent findings that lightning activity dropped by more than 10% during the 3 months of the COVID-19 pandemic. Researchers attribute the drop to lockdowns, which led to fewer pollutants, thus fewer nucleation sites for ice crystals. So COVID caused less lightning. Yet another impact. Or perhaps yet another correlation. But anyway, I had not heard that before. But remember back when the pandemic first started, and all of there were pictures of the dolphins, which were not real, but there was a marked drop in pollution. Yeah, exactly.
And all that. I don't know if this isn't my something fun, but it's COVID related. If you saw the news report out of Oregon State, that researchers have found that certain compounds in cannabis seem to block COVID.
I saw some tweets to that effect, and I kind of rolled my eyes and went,
I,
"Well, lovely."
I'm I'm sure that there's something, I'm sure there's something there. The article I read, I actually read an article on it. The article I read was, I think it basically said, no, smoking weed will do no good. It's a specific compound derived from the plant, similar to other things that seems to block COVID from spreading. So don't go down to the local weed store.
What you doing? I'm trying to avoid getting sick. Can you pass the Doritos? I don't know. Sorry, I'm not a smoker in any way, shape or form. So
yeah,
that is what it is. All right. Anyway, that was my something fun.
All right.
So or some things fun.
Good deal.
All right. Call it a show.
Yep. Have a good night, John.
Have a good night. I'll talk to you next week.
We'll see ya. Bye.
Bye.